Okay, we are rolling.
Hello, my name is Matthew Ryan. Today's date is Tuesday, November 8th, 2011. I'm interviewing Sergeant Jason Cartwright at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana about his life and military service. How are you doing today, Jason?
Doing fine.
Jason, what is your full name and rank?
Jason Brian Cartwright, Sergeant,
What is the unit that you're assigned to?
94th Engineer, K-9 Detachment, 4th MEB.
And what is the duty that your position holds?
It's a 12 Bravo with a K-9 handler.
What is your place of birth and childhood?
Escambia County, Alabama.
Where'd you grow up there?
I grew up there up to about the age of 7. Then I moved to Montgomery, Alabama, about 9 years old, and then I continued from there. Graduated high school there.
Could you tell us about your family?
I have a wife. We've been together 11 years. I've been married 4, and I have a 4-year-old son as well. My wife's name is Jennifer, and my son is Slade.
How about your parents?
Both of my parents are still living. I have my father, Clifford Cartwright, and my mother, Judy Cartwright. They reside in Luverne, Alabama.
Do you have any siblings?
I have my oldest brother, Derek Cartwright, and my oldest sister is Stacy Cartwright.
Did you have any pets when you were growing up?
I can recall 2 pets that I had. One was a chow, black chow, and one was a beagle. The 2 pets that I had when I was growing up as a child.
Were there any family traditions you can think back that may have been mentionable, may have helped goad you towards joining the military?
What direction what chose my traditional from the military to going towards the military? My dad was served in the military for 4.5, 5 years. He always, when we talked, he always told me it was about the best thing that he did at the time when he was growing up, and so I kind of fell in his footprints, and so I joined the military as a late bloomer, what we call them. I joined the military when I was 24 years old. So before then, I was doing construction work, working with the union, and got to that time where it got hardship, needed to make a career, so I went towards the military and been happy ever since.
Where did your father serve in the military?
He served at Fort Bliss, Texas, Army, in the Signal Corps.
Now, when you were in high school, did you participate in any extracurricular activities such as sports or any clubs you were in?
I was a big sports fanatic. I played baseball, football, pretty much what our school offered then. They got a variety of extra sports now, but most of it was just baseball and football.
Do you enjoy those sports?
I did. I enjoyed the Little League better than I did growing up than it was high school ball and stuff like that, but won a couple of championships and got a couple of trophies, so it's pretty cool back then.
Now, when you were younger, was there any influence in media or world events that may have, as well as your father's military service, maybe prompted you to think that this may have been something of interest to you or purpose?
Some of the events that I can just recall was the 9/11 attacks. I remember that day that it happened. Remember going to lunch, breaking for lunch one day, and went there, and it was all over the TV and everything. So, kind of an event that pushed me towards that would have been that event right there. That's most memorable for me coming up to and serving knowing our country was going to war and everything, so wanted to jump on that boat.
Where were you that day when it happened?
I was in Millbrook, Alabama. I was doing some construction work, building houses, and took lunch that day, and that's when I heard about it. So it was just all over the news.
How did it make you feel?
I guess you can call, some people go through shock different. You hear something or see something, and it's not really real until it really sinks in or sets in. It took me about to the next day or that night to, really for it to set in, what was going on, what was happening.
Did you realize at that moment that it was something, maybe such a worldwide change?
No, not at that moment. I didn't realize it. I really wasn't into the world when that happened. I really didn't look at the world being like it is today, or could lead to this that it's came to. It's just something that wasn't never in my mind about what's going on the other side of the world until that day. I think it opened up a little bit of everybody's eyes that day.
It certainly did. When you were growing up, were there any civic organizations you were part of, such as Boy Scouts or 4-H or any other local organizations?
No.
Did you volunteer at all in the community?
Yeah, to get a paycheck, I would go around knocking on doors, raking leaves or cutting grass, just to get some money for some baseball or football cards. That's pretty much about the contributes that I did around the community, which I wish I can have some kids today come knocking on my house, because I got some leaves for them to rake. It ain't like that no more. I know I used to go door to door begging, hey, I can rake your leaves for like $5, Now you can't even get a kid outside to do anything.
When you were growing up, was there any religious affiliation your family had, or the church they'd go to?
Yeah, we was Baptist. Mom used to take us every Sunday. Every Sunday, Mom used to want us to go to school, to Sunday school and everything, and it happened all the way up to about 10, 11 years old, and kind of faded out. But she was strong when we was growing up, kept us in church and everything, and kind of glad she did. So get the respectful way of living and growing up.
Do you still go to church every now and then?
I've been through a couple of seminars and everything, but not regularly. Just I've been gone, in and out, and kind of just fell off with it.
You mentioned that you were currently married and you have a child. Is your family supportive of your military service, or are they someone you find to go talk to easily?
Well, I haven't really, this second tour that I just came back from, I really haven't opened up to my family about what I do and what I've been through over there. But they are supportive. Like I said, me and my wife, we've been together 10, 11 years, and we've been married 4 of those years when I joined the military. And we hadn't lived together since 2006 until this past March. We finally, got us a place together in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. She's been staying in Alabama, and I've been in Missouri, and then got deployed to Iraq, then came back, then went to school for my K-9, and then I went back to Afghanistan. So, but they're been supportive. I mean, they've been there. If I did need somebody, most supportive would be my mom. I can pretty much call and talk to her. That's pretty much my key to talking through things. And if I really want to get hard on what's going on, I like to talk to my dad. He's the one that don't cut no corners on me. He tells me straight like it is, whether if I don't like it or not. I mean, he's gonna be straight with me. So if I need the support, I go to my mom. If I need what should I do, and lead me in the right way, I call my dad. So it's pretty much of a 50-50 thing.
No, you mentioned earlier your dad served in the military. What was his job after the military's occupation?
Once he got out of the military, he went to work with the fire department in Andalusia, Alabama, and then later on he got a job with the state of Alabama, and where he finished his 28 years, and he retired as captain of the K-9 unit. So with me working with the military dogs, and I was always around kennels because I would, he would go to work, and that's what his job was to train dogs for tracking and narcotics and stuff. So I pretty much got a good grasp of, how the kennel facilities work and how to train dogs, and, so it's kind of like going through his footsteps, kind of, but there's a little bit more technology involved in it from where he was at. It took him a long time to get where he's at, and I'm pretty much just, exceeding it just a little bit.
Certainly a different locale for you as well.
Yeah. Probably took him 10 years, and it's only taken me 4 to get where I'm at. So, in the same level, just the way, the world is, I think. Now it's fast tracking.
You proud to be following in your father's footsteps?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's more proud than, it's one of those love-hate relationships when I was growing up, Daddy's hand was always firm, and, you always look back on, when you get older and like, man, Mom and Dad was right. You don't never listen to them when you're young, but as you get older and get wiser, they were steering you in the right direction the whole time, and just wish I would have been a little bit more open ears when I was about 18, 19 years old, and I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, but I wouldn't give it up for the world. I love what I'm doing. I love my dog. I love my job. So, yeah, I guess I answered my own calling.
No, did your mother work when you were growing up and all?
She worked in and out of factories. She was number 11. I mean, she was the first child out of 11 of her brothers and sisters, so she was the oldest. And she worked in and out of sewing factories and everything. So that was pretty much her occupation, and keeping up with 3 children. I mean, back in the 80s and early 90s, that's pretty much your typical, housewife, holding down a job, keeping up with children back in them days, and she did a good job of it. So I praise her for that.
What do your siblings do these days? Where are they living?
They reside in Alabama still. My my sister, she was one of the first ones to go to college. She went in the medical field, worked as a, RN, or doing that stuff, and she's got diabetes, and that kind of got bad on her, and so she quit work a couple years ago, and so she's in kind of a bad shape, but she's living. My brother, he's I guess you can call jack of all trades, master of none. I mean, he's pretty much did it all. He's went from a truck driver to owning his own concrete business to, I mean, he's pretty much did it all out there. And, it's just the way the economy, for someone like him, it's the only way he can, best to support himself. And he's not married. I mean, he's single, but he's just rolling with the economy on, how to make it out there the way it is today. So whatever he needs to do, that's what he does and get it done. So he's pretty skilled in a lot of levels.
Earlier you were talking about how you haven't lived with your immediate family, your wife and your child, in quite a few years until recently. Has that been difficult for your wife and yourself?
I think it has. I haven't really talked to him much about it. I mean, when I went to Iraq, My first time when I was going overseas, I sent her through cosmetology school. She went, did hair, so that occupied her job, and plus having our son. So that pretty much occupied her the first deployment. This second deployment was, I think, a little bit worse on her than the first one was. But I couldn't tell you, man. We don't talk about, that much stuff together like that, It's kind of a weird, the way our relationships became, it's just, we just talk about important stuff, the bills and, what we're going to do and all this stuff. I mean, it's kind of separated us, these deployments in the military. It's kind of separated us from who we used to be, it just seems like I remember us being, kids and, wild and, carefree and everything. And then 2 deployments later, I come back and, I got a full-blown family. So, talking about culture shock. Some people get culture shock, joining into the military, and living the military from a civilian life. And I adapted to that pretty good. I think I'm having had a culture shock coming from all these deployments and out of the military into a full-blown family with a 4-year-old son, and a wife, and like actually settling down. So I think it's taking its toll on me more than it is them to adapt to it, because it's been hard for me to adapt to, the family life, coming back. Wasn't used to it. Wasn't used to it at all. So I'm used to having on a time schedule, and just everything right, I'm not used to all this, your son coming and waking you up in the morning or whatever and jumping on you, or, so more of a culture shock for me than it was for them, I think.
Is it nice though having your family? Is it nice though being able to live with your family again?
Well, I know it was like living with her, I don't know it too much. I just, right now, I'm just now experiencing, life with my son, which is, I'm just now experiencing that life, and I'm, he's growing on me. I mean, he pretty much gets away with everything now. Yeah. He comes to me, Mama gets on to him, whatever. He comes to me, so I'm just now getting used to, my son being around the house. I remember when I came back from Iraq, and before I took some time, about 30-something days of leave before I went back over. And he couldn't talk then, but my wife kept him in the loop, who Daddy was. And you would show him a picture of me, it's like, where's Daddy? And he would point to the picture. There's Daddy right there, there's Daddy right there. And then when I came back from Iraq, I can be holding a picture up beside me, and they say, where's Daddy at? And he'll still point to the picture, even though I'm right here. So then that's how he was pretty much trained on who his daddy was a picture. So I'm glad that he's, I'm glad that I made it back where he just won't have to be, pointing at that picture all the time. Now he knows me, he knows my voice. He knows when I come in, he comes gives me a big hug. So that's growing on me, to be someone that's kind of hard and everything, and he's getting to my heart, a little bit, getting a little tender. So giving in to a lot more than what I would with him.
You've already mentioned that your dad had served in the military, and that you worked in construction for a while, and then decided that you were going to join. When exactly did you enlist, and where did you enlist?
When and where? Well, it's a funny story. I was going to re-enlist for the Marines, and it didn't go too good with the recruiter's office or something, and I didn't quit my job. I was working with the union at this point, and so I just they said that there was a hold up for me to go in or something, you know, like it'd be a couple of months, you know, before I can, like, they ship me off, and I'm like, oh man, I got bills coming in, you know. I mean, I just can't, you know. I thought, you know, you come sign that line, you get to go in, but there was a holding fee. I guess a lot of people was joining at the time. So I got my packet and I walked out the door and walked 2 doors down to the Army recruiter, and it was February the 2nd, 2007, and I said, man, what can you do for me, you know? And I gave him the packet that the Marines already put up for me. You know, I done took my test and physicals and everything else. And he's like, I can get you out of here in, you know, 7-8 days. And I was like, sign me up. And I was gone February 20th of that year, 2007, and recruited out of Prattville, Alabama. I lived in Deepsville, Millbrook area at the time, and usually they had their own, you know, recruiters in that area, but, you know, they didn't come to me, you know, I came to them, and he said, yeah, I'll sign you up and get you out of here. So that's what I did. I left, didn't look back.
You were happy with that decision then?
Had to be happy with the decision. I mean, I finally got into the, you know, I've been trying for a long time to get into it, but just wasn't falling. My ducks wasn't getting in a line quick enough, you know, for me to get stable, and, you know, still had that little wild streak in me, but I straightened up pretty good. Got them in a row, got my priorities straight, and, you know, focused on what I wanted to focus on, and I did it. So never looked back from it then.
You mentioned is tough times with the economy, of course, for difficulty on everyone's jobs and livelihood, but are there any other reasons for enlisting other than that, and family tradition, and your own sense of wanting to join the military?
No, I always wanted to join the military. I wish I would have joined a little bit earlier in the military, probably done a little bit more stuff, but I mean, I couldn't imagine if I would have joined the military early, I probably wouldn't have the experiences that I had now, and, you know, I wouldn't probably be working with the people that I'm working with now, or the dog that I have with now. I mean, just those days, that day late, dollar short kind of thing. So it's something that I always wanted to do. It's just I didn't have my priorities straight coming up as a teenager. Wild, you know, hanging around friends, you know, doing the friends thing, and, you know, most people get caught out of loop there for a while, and, you know, you sit around and look at yourself and look at other people around you. And I think what changed my mind that one day is doing construction, and I seen this old guy. You know, he was on our construction crew. He's about 46 years old. You know, out there working with us. I'm a young guy. I was about 20. You know, 20, 21 years old. You know, out there working with him. You know, and I was getting paid the same money he was getting paid, you know, and he's got 4 kids, you know, family, you know, grown-ups, and, you know, got them through school, and, you know, he's about 46, 47 years old. You know, he's out there doing the same job I am, getting paid the same money, no insurance, you know, and I was looking at him, and I was like, man, you know, this ain't what I want to do when I get, you know, 40-something years old. You know, it's just hammering nails, or, you know, having a tool belt. You know, I mean, if he would have fell, got hurt, I mean, he would have been lost. I mean, he wouldn't have had no way to support his family. So looking at that, and looking at his life that he chose, I didn't want to choose that life. And I was like, well, I can't do this forever. I was good at it, you know, I was good at what I do, but it's just something I didn't want to do the rest of my life. At 40-something years old, I wanted to start collecting one of my retirement checks. And at 24 years old, you're pushing it. You know, I was already past my predicted retirement age, so right now, I should be sitting pretty good with my 20 years in the military service, finish out my time, because I want to be a lifer. If the military let me stay in for got no reason, I mean, I'll do my full 20 and get my retirement, and I'll start another career up. But that's one of the things that changed my lifestyle was that guy. I mean, something you don't want to do when you're 46 years old, be out there, hammering nails in wood and getting paid the same as the guy that's 25 years younger than you are, getting paid the same much money with no insurance, no health care. I mean, I just couldn't imagine it.
No, you already mentioned that you kind of had a wild streak, as you put, when you were younger. Joining the military itself did help you to develop your own identity of who you are today, kind of come of age as a man, so to speak. Was it a rite of passage for you?
With that wild streak that I had growing up, the military sure did learn me how to discipline it, learn me how to control it, learn me how to use it, when it needed to be used. And I think it made me stronger. That wild streak made me stronger and more wise coming into the military than it did anything. From going down range with that go-getting attitude, and having the military to form that up for me, because it was wild. I mean, it was like you just unpredictable. You never know what was going to happen. And then from being in the military and having it form it up for me and make me have discipline and stuff like that, it helped me out in my military career so far. So I think it's really shaped me up in a good direction for the military has.
Could you tell me about your training, your basic training, I should say, some of your initial experiences, just things you may remember from your first day of getting there, what it looked like, what it smelled like, things like that?
Well, it goes back to that culture shock, from civilians, coming into soldiers, and you get those initial videos, and you got, you see those drill sergeants, they come at you, yelling at you, doing all this stuff. Man, I grew up with that stuff, my dad blessed me from one end of the house to the other end of the house, and I mean, if I messed up, I paid for it, and that's just how I was raised. So, really, too much wasn't a culture shock for me to transition when I went that first day of basic training. Even though it was chaos, I wasn't, kind of used to, having some stranger in my face. I knew my daddy. You don't want to raise your hand one time at daddy, he'd knock you down. Didn't do that again, but getting off that bus that one day with your bag on you, and you got drill sergeants, just swarming around, nitpicking little stuff. I mean, being in the military, looking back on it and looking at it, you can pretty much tell, like, man, was I that guy that's doing that right now? Because it was just what they do. They just confuse you, it's just a hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. That's all you did. And you did it together. They started you out, you doing it as a team, as a group, and it's just hard. From adjusting, going to the bathroom by yourself, for 24 years, and then going and taking showers with, a whole platoon-size element, which is like 20-something guys. That's about the only part that, got me. I mean, it ain't like the locker rooms when you was in high school or anything. You still had a little bit of privacy, joked around. This was a little bit more serious than that. Bunking with, a bunch of guys, and, doing team efforts, doing your exercises, what we call it, getting smoked in the military. So, really wasn't that much of a culture shock for me, but it was different. I still remember, to the day of coming off that bus. So, it wasn't that bad. For me, it wasn't. Other people took it pretty bad, but it wasn't that bad for me. I kind of expected it, Some people join the military and don't even know what to expect. Like, really? I mean, you didn't know. You didn't know you was gonna get a gun and go to war. Where you been at last 10 years? Some people just don't realize that. Like, man, what am I doing over here? I don't know, dude. You joined the military. You volunteered yourself. I mean, what do you thought we was gonna be doing? It's just weird. Whatever. I can get off subject.
That's fine. Can you describe in a little greater detail the tear-down, build-up process and how it was for yourself in basic training, as well as you said some other soldiers around you didn't deal with it so well?
Yep. What they want to do is tear-down, build-up process. They want to take all your confidence away. They want to take everything away that you got. I mean, it's just, you think you know something, you're wrong. I mean, I can tell you this, something's, I know that right there is green. Everybody else knows it's green, but the drill sergeant's going to tell you it's red, and they're right. If you know something, or think you know something, they're going to take that away from you. They're going to take, your cockiness, they're going to take your smartness, and they're going to strip you down. Make you feel, like you can't get nothing right. For me, even just counting to 10, you're doing that wrong. It's just, so they take all that away from you as an individual, and they start building you back up as a team. The ones beside your left and right of you, your brothers and sisters in arms, they start building you up as a team to learn how to team build, and they start building your confidence back up. Hey, I can do this. Hey, if we do this together, we can accomplish this. Not one person can accomplish one of these tasks on their own. It's got to be a group effort. So once they break you all down from doing that right there, and they build you back up, and you kind of see the processes it's pretty much like I told you earlier, like growing up, it's like your mom and daddy telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that. Don't do this, don't do that. At the time, you're like, man, this don't even make sense. I'm not listening to you. Same like that in breakdown and build down process in the military. You're like, man, why aren't we doing this? This don't make sense. And then you come to realize, once you've been in for a little bit, or once you graduate, you know what? We could have just put our heads together and did this the whole time. We could have had it right, but we didn't, because we was thinking as individuals. We weren't thinking as a team. And the military teaches you to think as a team, as a whole. And I think that's the reason we're one of the greatest militaries there is today for that.
You kind of made a comparison between how you were raised in your household with what your parents told you, and then what you're being told, and then while you're in basic training itself. Do you think your household itself, what you were used to, may have been an advantage? And if so, were there any other soldiers you knew of in your unit now, even, or when you were in basic training, who came from a background like that it may have been advantageous to them just to know what to expect?
Man, I know my family, my lifestyle was an advantage for coming into the military. Like I said, man, it's that love-hate relationship that I had between my parents. They were strict. They didn't beat around the bush. They didn't baby me. It was pretty much you get out there and you get it done, and that was it. You get more negative. You get more negative comments, and you get good comments. If you ain't getting yelled at, and you ain't getting nothing, complimented to you, you're doing something right. And it's like I mean, if you're getting yelled at, you know you're doing something wrong. You know, if you're not getting complimented, and you know you're not getting yelled at, then you're obviously doing something right. So it's like that in the military too. I mean, you're gonna get yelled at for messing up, and then you know they see you doing right. They know you're doing right. You know, they're like, man, you know they're doing it right, but we're just gonna sit back and let them do it and try to pick out something they're doing wrong. Looking at some of the other people, how they grew up and their families and their life. It's one of those. I mean, some people could just come from that, that caring, tender love, family. And you can tell those ones that came from that, just, white picket fence and, Brady Bunch kind of happy. And then you can tell the ones that, come from a hard family like myself, with tough love. That's what we call it. And it's a difference, but we all transition as one team, and that's the most important piece of the job that we get.
Do you find then that your expectations of what basic training were going to be aligned with reality once you actually began it?
I think it met all my expectations. Critter told me that I can come in and blow stuff up, work with explosives. So that's pretty much what I've been doing my whole military. Is working with that stuff, whether finding it or getting rid of it. I think my life expectations fulfilled itself for being basic trainees and AIT and coming up to my job today. Wasn't no curveballs I didn't think that I wasn't expected to do. So I think everything lived up to it.
What were some of your highs and lows you experienced while in basic training?
Highs and lows. Man, I guess working, trying to cope, working as a team, or trying to do stuff right. I mean, no matter how long you did stuff right, trying to get physical fit. I didn't run 2-3 miles every morning when I was 21, 22 years old, and get up early in the morning. Learning how to adapt to that time would have been, I guess, the highs and lows for me. That's about all I can say on that. I mean, I really didn't have no peak points or any kind of keys on basic training than what it is. I mean, just transition you into a citizen to a soldier and learning you the ropes. Initial, soldiering skills is about all it was. I mean, wasn't nothing spectacular about it.
You mentioned through the tear down build up process that you were torn down as individuals but built up as a team. Did you come to really understand and have a greater appreciation for unit cohesion when you were in basic training? And through that, did you maybe develop stronger friendships or bonds with some of your fellow soldiers?
You develop those bonds. You come to a basic training and, you get put in this company and you're with people, all over the United States. You got people in the north, you got people in the south, east, and west. You don't know, you being a southern boy like myself, I never strode far from the fence line. And meeting other people, from the north and south, of northern states, southern state, east and west states. You build that bond. You have to build that bond. And I didn't think I didn't think, everybody doesn't know each other when you come in. I mean, you just don't know nobody. And over time, building that cohesion between, yourself and others, it's a bond that, that would go on forever. I mean, I still remember some of my guys that was in my, their last names that was, in my room that I bunked with. I mean, that bond right there and the cohesion that you build, with just total strangers, getting broke down as that individual and then built back up as that one team right there. Yeah, that bond you'll have, forever. I mean, it's easy to build that bond as you work in, as a team, and that cohesion that, the military offers you. So I guess it was pretty interesting on how I felt when I first came in. I was like, man, I don't know about none of these people. I'm raised different. They're raised different. How are we gonna, coincide and get along, with each other? He's got different views than what I got maybe, and I want to do it this way, and he might want us to do it this way, But you come to realize that's the wrong way. You come up and you come up together. So I enjoyed the bonding and the cohesion that I had. I thought I was going to have a bad time at it, but ended up working in my favor.
Could you describe for me the details and or the duties and responsibilities of your MOS?
My MOS was 12 Bravo, which is a combat engineer. The duties of a combat engineer pretty much is, we call them, we have sappers, and combat engineers is pretty much what we're called as sappers. And different wars we was used for different things. Primarily is we have infantry tactics and use explosives. We breach, we use for breaching obstacles, to laying down obstacles. Today's warfare, we do that. We do route clearance, patrols. We do crater repair and culvert denials downrange. And my job specifically is an ASI, which is a additional skill identifier. I'm with the K9 unit for the engineer regiment, and my program's a specialized search dog program. And my duties as my job today with that entitlement is to go out and search and look for explosives, for IEDs and caches and sort.
What's a month-to-month or phase-by-phase breakdown of what you typically do as for your MOS, I guess you'd say?
Day by day and month by month. I've only been doing this a couple of months since I've been back. I just got back in March. I've been, my typical day starts up, get up in the morning. I roll out of bed about 4:30, 4 o'clock every morning. Hit the 5:30 PT formation, first accountability. Do that for about an hour and a half, and go back home and shower and shave, and I come to work and train my dog. That pretty much consists of my job, is just come and train your dog. When I was in the line unit, what I mean by line unit, I was, when I was in a company that had, like squads and stuff, and, we had more of a structured, I'd had different jobs and stuff, but my job today is to come and train my dog. I mean, that's all I do. That's what I do 5 days a week, And sometimes, even on the weekends, I come and train my dog. Rather, running different scenarios, training to go overseas. That's what my job consists of, man. There's nothing else that I do for work except for go and train that guy that's going to save my life. And we do have other stuff that we have to do, but we fit that in, whether it's some kind of briefs or we get do little get-togethers or whatever. But my job is what I do right now, is setting out training problems and coming in and running those training lanes. And I love it. It's not every day you can just get up and go play with man's best friend.
Certainly. I'd like to delve a little deeper into your experiences, I guess we'd say, with your canine unit. Just some details of, such as your dog's name, how long you've been with this dog, and details of the program.
All right. My unit, told you earlier, I'm the 5th Engineer Battalion Canine Company. My program is Specialized Search Dog Program. It initiated in the military, picked it up, the Army picked it up about in 2003, 2004. It's a process. When I came back from Iraq, our school was about 5.5 months long. We go to San Antonio, Texas, Lackland Air Force Base for our school. When I go down there, I get, you get picked, you get like 2 dogs. Usually they try to give you a green dog and a veteran dog. In my case, I got 2 green dogs. And, I remember walking through the kennels, and for the first time, they give you a hat and you pick a number, and then you go to that kennel and that's your dog. You didn't go through there and look at your dog first, say, oh, I want that dog. So I'm trying to tell you the story how I got my dog and everything, but I remember getting my 2 numbers, and we go walk and try to find our kennels. I'm looking, 6, 7. It's like, man, I like to have that dog. And then I get to my kennel, and there sits a year-old, year and a half old black Labrador, retriever. He's just wide open. I'm looking, I'm like, man, are you kidding me? I don't want this dog right here. He was just all spazzed out and stuff, barking, jumping inside the fence and everything. I'm like, man, what about that dog? I like that big dog over there. I can't have that dog. So that was Isaac, little young, spasmodic, that was him. The only thing he knew how to do was sit and fetch. And he didn't know how to sit very well because he didn't stay in one spot. So I get Isaac, and through our 5.5 week course of training him, he was a headache. Dog wouldn't do nothing. I tell him to lay down, he would sit. I tell him to sit, he'll lay down. I tell him to go, he'll stop. I tell him to stop, he'll go. He was just like that. And took some hard training. And I remember one of my instructors, training my dog, they really worked with me and gave me the tools to train him. And I was on the verge of just, I was like, man, can I just get another dog? I don't like this dog. This dog's not listening to me. Me and him's not on the same page. Y'all try to pair these, dogs up, these, with your personalities. I said, I'm a laid back kind of guy. This dog right here is, crazy. He's just everywhere. Well, I'm kind of that way too, and I didn't really know it. So they said, no, you're going to keep this dog. This is going to be your primary dog. We're going to take your other dog away from you, and we're going to give you this dog. And this is your job, is to train this dog. So that was a challenge. I mean, there was no way I'm going to get rid of this dog. You know what I did. I was like, man, this dog ain't doing this. I'm going to write him up, you know. Couldn't get rid of him. So they said, no, this is your dog. And gave me my primary dog, and that was him. And over 2-3 weeks, working hard, working with him, I come to work one day. I don't know if my mama was praying for me or I was praying or something got answered, man. I just came to work to training one day, and it was like a light bulb. I mean, it just, wow, the dog just did everything. I mean, just all obedience to all the commands, you know, and just like a firecracker. I'm like, wow, what happened? You know, I mean, how did he just transition from overnight from being just, and then from being, wow, you're pretty good, you know, I kind of like you, you know, so it's all about how you look at it with training your dog. So I began to build a rapport with the dog, with Isaac. So we graduated Specialized Search Dog School, and came back. It's, you know, 5.5 months. So we come back to the unit, you know, train up to get deployed. That's what we're going to do. And we go to Afghanistan together, and we build a good bond. Before we go, we was back for about 3 months. Worked with some veteran handlers, you know, taught me the ropes, different scenarios that I'd be facing going down range, and what to suspect and what to look for. So here's me and Isaac. You know, I'm a E4 specialist, first time deploying with the dog. You know, I've been deployed before, but not with the dog. We deploy as individuals. Our program does. It's just you and your dog. We don't deploy with a big group, you know, like I did when I went to Iraq. I mean, it's just get you, your dog, and going over there, you know, like where I'm going. Oh, you're going overseas. Okay. So you fly in this airplane, you going overseas, and you get over there, and you're like, I think we're going to put you with these people. You know, you're like, man, I don't even know these people, you know what I mean? But I know my job, and that's what you need to know. So you go over there and work with them. Coming up to knew when I was going to deploy, you know, me and Isaac, we still had some issues to work out. You know, I knew I was going to deploy in 3 months or whatnot. And I would come in, you know, I would talk to my dad, you know, a little bit about guidance, you know, because he, you know, obviously retired from the Cantigny Canine unit. And, I remember those 3 months right before I was going on deploy. I would come in every weekend to work with my dog, you know, because I know you're going to be. I'm training my dog for explosives, you know, here at stateside. You know, you work with, you know, TNT, C4, water gel, dead cord, you know, and they're just training aids, you know. They don't, you know, they're not going to hurt you, and you had that mindset. And knowing that you're going to go over there to search for these stuff, and that it's really going to take a toll on you. It's really, reality is going to hit you when that first IED goes off or you get shot at that first time. You're like, man, all right, now it's real. So I knew what to expect, and going over there, because when I was in Iraq, I did route clearance, and you get blown up in an armored vehicle, and it's like, okay. You shake it off, get a little, you know, concussion if it didn't penetrate the armor or anything, and, you know, drive on. Going over there this time, I'm dismounted, and you're walking on the ground pretty much doing route clearance. I mean, you're clearing the area for the troops to come in, just you and your dog. So that hikes the stakes up a little bit. I mean, no more armored vehicle. You know, I love that armored vehicle at the time. I tell you what, that thing saved my life a couple of times. But So you had to count on this four-legged, 100-mile-an-hour black Labrador Retriever that was right here beside me, which he just turned 2 at the time. And I would come in on weekends. I would work 7 days a week. I would train my dog. I would, build that nice rapport with him. And it paid off in the long run. So, been in the canine unit for, a little over 2 years now. And with 1 deployment in it. And so I think it's my calling to be where I'm at right now.
I'd like to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, I was getting off track.
Oh no, that's fine. You had some very good things, and
I probably could answer all your questions by talking, but I just want you to answer talk.
Back to basic training a little more. What was your original impression of your officers and NCOs when you were in basic training?
You don't get a good picture of officers and NCOs when you're in basic training. You don't. You don't. I mean, you got drill sergeants. You got commanders, and you pretty much. I mean, you have to learn the ranks and all that stuff. But you don't have that. That judgment of NCO or an officer. In basic training. You get that when you get to the unit. When you get to your unit, then you start learning how the real rank structure works and how the officers come into play and the NCOs come into play. So basic training, you really don't get that concept of non-commissioned officers and officers. It's just drill sergeants.
Because I know you just mentioned basic training, it's a lot different, but being in the military, has your impression of higher rank your officers above you and NCOs changed over time?
Every unit's different. Every unit has its standard, wherever you go. They haven't much changed, but, some units, I know from transitioning from, a line unit to the canine, being a little bit more relaxed and, free as an individual, 'cause that's pretty much what you do. It's different. But I haven't seen no change in the NCOs or officers since I've been in dramatically. I mean, they're all taught the same thing, and then some of them just put their their intelligence or their prospect in certain areas, which turns some takes initiative and some don't. I mean, some just gets by and some pushes you and other soldiers to strive to be your best, and you just see some just don't do that sometimes. They just riding the boat down the river.
You certainly kind of made a comparison between better leaders and not so good ones. What would you describe as an effective leader?
An effective leader? Oh man, knowing your soldiers. You have to know your soldiers without having that top hat, security with them. It's pretty much like, when you get your, you want to have kids and everything, you want them to come talk to you about your problems. You don't want them to, hide from mom and dad, and not tell them anything. It's pretty much the same concept, man. If you know your soldiers and have that, cohesion with your soldiers, and strive to, push them for their goals, tell them, hey man, what's your goals, and they say, wow, I might want to think about going to college, and just not forget it, man. You want to push them, I think I want to, be a, score higher on my PT test. A leader would come in there, push that soldier, in that direction. And, backing up your word, if that soldier has any kind of issues, you want that soldier to come to you, and, ask for your help. I think that's going to be your top overall leader is key words going to be knowing your soldiers and knowing that they'll come to you if they need help. and that you would push them to strive to get to where they want to be in life and get their goals accomplished.
In our research for this class, we read a lot of different literature about history of First Division as well as the history of the American soldier. And there was one book we read in particular called The American Soldier, chronicled from World War I through Vietnam. And there was certainly a good idea from first-hand experience as well as from lower ranking to upper ranking about this idea of the rear echelon versus the front line. I'm sure this kind of thing only comes into effect more so when you're actually deployed. Did you feel like there was, I mean, obviously there's a big difference when you're actually physically on the front line itself, but as far as mentality of the soldiers, was it different with those who were the rear echelon who were back at base than those who were on the front line?
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah. It's different. I guess to put that in perspective of today's war would be the ones that goes outside the wire and the ones that stays inside the wire. Two different mindsets. Ones that goes outside the wire, say the front lines, goes out there, eats MREs, sometimes, living in little villages on a cot or a little mat on the ground, not complaining about nothing, just, doing their job. And you got the ones, you come on people that don't go outside the wire, and they get mad because they run out of coffee. They didn't make their coffee right. They had their little routine schedule. They have, I'm gonna get up this morning. I'm gonna get up this time. And do this. I do this between this time. I eat lunch at this time and this time, and I get off work at this time and this time. And and then you got those ones out there on the front lines or outside the wire. That's all is around the clock. Hey, 2100 this hit time, we're rolling out. 0230 hit time, we're rolling out. 0730s, we're rolling out. You don't have a set time out there. You're always on the go. You're come under attack. You can just be sleeping nice in your bed, and then just next thing you know, just start getting ambushed. So the mentality is different. It's a whole lot different from going outside the wire. People's going outside the wire and people that's inside. You can see the rapport, the bond is stronger outside than it is inside. But we couldn't do as a whole though. I know some of us that go outside the wire, and we talk about these people that stays inside the wire. We call them fobbits, and they don't never do nothing. But as a whole, man, we wouldn't be able to perform our duties out there without them. They do play a key role, even though the mindset's not the same as ours. We wouldn't get our supplies that we need out there in the field. So I mean they play a role, but to answer your question, the mindset's totally different from being on the front line and being in the rear.
We can definitely get into more detail about overseas experiences in a bit. When you were first deployed, well, both times I guess when you were deployed, how did you feel when you found out about it, and where were you at the time? What do you remember from it?
Shoot. I was happy as a boy in school. I was happy as a kid in the candy store. I wanted to go, man. I wanted to do that, to go over there, and do my part. Some people stays in the military, been in the military a long time and, hadn't seen a deployment, which is hard this day and age. I don't see how, but it is. But I was happy, man. I was ready to go. I mean, I think the military gave me what I needed to go military gave me what I needed to get done and to go there and do my job, and I was confident. And knowing my job was to go out there and clear those routes first deployment, knew I could get that done, saving, countless convoys and soldiers, lives, coming on those routes and stuff. Man, I was happy. And then I was even more tickled when I left Iraq and came back and went to dog school, and even happier that I went back over there, went to another country to serve. And with me and my dog, Isaac, I was just even happier now. I was happier then because I knew that I had a good dog, and I knew that me and him was going to be good as a team. So I'm trying to get back over there right now, but I wish they'd send me next week, but they can't do it right now. So I'm just gonna hold off for a couple more months and get my time up, and me and Isaac will go back over there and do it again. Love what I do. He loves what he does, so we'll start getting them IEDs out of the ground. Go ahead, man.
I was wondering if before you deployed, did the military give you any sort of cultural sensitivity training, any background information on Muslim culture?
The military is very good about setting you up for success. They're not going to send you to failure. You have classes. You have pre-deployment classes. A lot. They give you classes on their culture. They give you classes. You have a whole checklist of stuff you got to do before you deploy. It's just not, sometimes, it's just not like what people think, just get your bags and go. You have to go see the wizard, make sure your head's straight. You go through physicals, you do your physicals, you go through, security classes, culture classes. You get refreshing up on all the training that you received in, the last past, 12 months, 13 months. You get all that training refreshed up to you, and then you go. So the military is very good about sending us in a place that we're aware of, that we can have our situation awareness of what's going on in that culture.
You mentioned just now in that answer, something you referred to as the wizard. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Could you explain more who that is?
That's the, it's pretty much what you do when you get your physicals, make sure you're in the right state of mind, especially if soldier has multiple deployments, make sure they're good in right state of mind, make sure everything's good, like I said, they do your finances for you, you go through a finance class, you go through, family, classes, counselors, you talk to counselors and stuff. So the wizard's just, pretty much like a doctor that, says, hey, you're good to go, ask you some questions, make sure you're in the right state of mind. You're stable, pretty much everybody is. It's just pretty much like a counselor, man, doctor, hey, how's your life, want to hurt anybody, stuff like that. That's about it.
When you were deployed overseas, what was your unit's mission or its task?
This last time?
The first time you did deploy.
The first time mission was to go out there and clear the main supply routes and alternate supply routes, the MSRs and ASRs, for convoy and troop movement to get through Iraq. As you know, IEDs were big on roadside bombs over there. And what they would do, the insurgent stuff, they would target, our supply convoys, and our troop movements to, get them where they're at. And our mission was to go out there and drive 5 miles an hour, and you rather found them or they found you, find these bombs and these IEDs on the side of the road, and clear the route. Once the route clearance package would go up there, we'll call back and say, hey, Charlie Mike, which continue mission on this route. It's good to go. It's green. And then that's when they would come up there and send their supplies, and or send the troops, to maneuver them through Iraq. And that's what our job was, to clear the routes. Some of our jobs was covert denials. Insurgents and was bad about, packing these culverts full of explosives, 500, 1,000 pounds of explosives, and click, boom, wait till a convoy come by there or something and blow them up. So covert denial, it consists of going there, put some concertina wires, some pickets, closing access up, make it not so easy to access. And putting tampering tape and stuff on it, Then when we do crater repair, one of their pet peeves were, hey, we blowed this convoy up right here. We just, pretty much made a crater for us to put more explosives in and hit the next convoy, So every IED hole that they hit somebody, we would go back and we would patch it up and we'd stamp it and like, this crater's good, it's by Corps of Engineers. We stamped it with our little castle. So we filled that, that crater. And that was our mission in Iraq. It was pretty successful.
When you first arrived there, what do you remember from the sights and how maybe temperature, what it smelled like, things like that?
What did it smell like? Oh my goodness. Horrible. Man, some of them places, that smell is horrible, man. I mean, it depends on where you go. Sure ain't fresh air. I'll tell you that. When I first got there, man, I really didn't know what to think, to tell you the truth. I mean, good thing I had good leaders. I was a private, I had good leaders at the time that's been deployed before and, kind of, gathered us up and, taught us when we first got there, man, but I really didn't know what to expect. I remember doing my training, before I'm going, getting in my vehicle, getting my gun ready, doing all my checks, doing the radios, but getting over there and doing it for real life, that first time was just, it was just overwhelming, man. It's just, it's crazy how, it's, I don't even know how to explain it, man. Like, you train up for the Olympics, man, and then you're there. I guess I wouldn't know that feeling, but I guess you can imagine it being like that. You train, and then when you get there, it's like, okay, all this I done. That first time I did my mission, it seems like I knew what I was doing. I got my gun ready, I got the radios ready. I was just like programmed and rolling outside that wire for the first time, and it was just like, well, I'm here. This is it. I'm doing my job. It's crazy. I didn't know what to expect when I started seeing, Muslims or people in man dresses and stuff, and how they lived over there. I'm like, wow. You think America's got it bad? Some people in America's got it bad, man. You better count your blessings. Over there, you see some of them people. That's horrible. Some of the stuff that I've seen over there and that they live and go through. And it wouldn't know no different. There's you can be in two villages, that's probably about a mile apart, and they never left that village. It's just how they was brought up. We brought up, to travel and do this and do that, but they don't. It's crazy what I've seen over there when I first got over there, with how they live, how their irrigation is. How they get their water, what they live in. No power sometimes. It's pretty interesting.
Definitely an eye-opening experience for you.
Yeah, you count your blessings. You just 'cause you didn't, get that new game that came out, or you didn't, you ain't got a nice enough car or a nice enough house, man, you better be thankful for what you got. Some people take that for granted, especially going over there. I come home, I can relax, these people, they don't. I mean, it's a definitely an eye opener from knowing what's over here and over there. My first time over there.
When you were there, could you describe for me some of the terrain, the natural features, things like that, as well as maybe how their infrastructure are different, their roads, buildings, things like that?
Well, I mean, the terrain, it depends on where you go. If you're around, I mean, it's all kind of desert, dusty terrain. But around rivers and stuff, you had vegetation, of course, because it's got water and stuff. So you have some kind of, you wouldn't, people think the Middle East, the Middle East, thinking nothing, just Sahara desert, it's like nothing out there, It ain't like that. I mean, you think that it would be like that, but it's really not. You can get down in some towns and villages, and you'd be pretty surprised at the technology that, that you would thinking from coming from 10 clicks out from someone that's, living in a mud hut, with no power or nothing, and then coming about 10 miles into this town and it's like, say, Baghdad or something, where they have concrete structures and mosque and, all this technology. It's kind of weird, like, how that happens, like, you can tell the people's not getting taken care of, like, their people, only, it's just, you can tell the wealthy only looks out for the wealthy, and the poor just gets, poor. I mean, they don't share it. So it's just crazy how that transitions into, people living in mud huts with no power and just irrigation. The only water they got is because they dug a hole from a creek or a river to run through their house and go back out the other side. It's the only water they got. 10 miles into the city, you got, running water, power, electricity, and cell phones and everything else. And I wouldn't think I was going to ever see a vehicle over there, I wouldn't think, I thought I was going to see, people riding on camels and stuff when I first got over there. But, I've seen, Chevrolets and Ford trucks, over there riding down the roads and stuff. So it's just crazy what you expect and then what you see over there. I mean, I wouldn't ever expected a big old machine gun, mounted on a Ford Ranger, but I've seen it. Yeah. How they mustered up stuff over there.
You mentioned earlier how you've been very thankful about the armor in your vehicles that you've had before, and there's been instances where it's come into particular usage, that's a good word as. When you were deployed, were the vehicles up-armored at the time? They have the armor underneath, or is that something that changed while you were over there?
That's something that was in the transition of changing when I got over there. The Congress, I guess, United States, Uncle Sam, I don't know, they answered our prayers. I know, listening to some of my other, leaders' stories when they first got deployed, back when it first started off, they was rolling in soft skin, Humvees and stuff, and pretty much like a tin can. And then got these IEDs, and it was blowing up, and it's just tearing these vehicles apart. The military sure did go out of the way to make these vehicles. And when I got over there, I was pretty much, they was transitioning from, upper armored vehicles. And man, those vehicles are lifesavers. I mean, I've been hit 6 times in a vehicle. Not the same vehicle. I destroyed 2 of them. But been hit 6 times, man, and every time those vehicles. I mean, it rocks you. I mean, of course. But man, I wouldn't be here today if I was rolling around in a soft skin Humvee and not one of those armored vehicles, man. They sure are lifesavers. I love them. I love them to death. I like them a lot. What was the question? The other one?
I was just asking about when the armored vehicles themselves, if they transitioned while you were there.
Yeah, they transitioned when I was there, man. I like those things, man. Those things are cool to work with. They save your life.
Any of those 6 instances where the armor did go into effect, were you injured during those?
Bruises, little mild concussion, but no big serious injuries. Everything was good.
You're still in one piece?
Yep.
When you were deployed the first time, I guess the second time too, so going into that, did you develop any friendships with, I guess what you call war buddies while you were over there? Any other men in your unit or women that you developed a particular bond with, either through what you experienced or training?
First time I knew the guys from the left and right going over there. We was in the same company. I knew them. We went out, had our little, shindigs, and trained, worked with them every day. So I knew those guys. First time going over there. Second time going over there, I didn't know nobody. I knew my dog. But got to know other canine handlers and everything. Got a bond with those guys. So we did a couple of missions with them together. So kind of bonded there. And man, I tell you, some of the higher leadership when I was over there, sometimes they just wouldn't listen to the subject matter expert, which is myself. And we have certain standards and regulations that we got to go by as a military working dog team to support these units. And there's some stuff that we need that the units has got to give us. But you have some handlers that would live up to it, man. But I tell you what, going down there and getting that small size element, even though how the big head knockers, they might, tick you off or whatever, but going to that small element, that platoon, and working with those guys and knowing those guys, the troops, I've been in my back for them, it's a relationship that, man, you seen what they live in, because I traveled when I was over there the second time. I mean, I was able to go from, this fob or this base, patrol base, to this base, and this base to this base. They was stuck there for, like, their whole deployment, So when you go there and you're like, man, they got it bad, what can I do to, help them? But I would bend my back for them, man, I would, because, when I come there and I start talking to them, they're happy when they see you, especially with a dog team coming in there, because, they got some of their buddies they just lost for, IED blasts and stuff, and this is just another asset to add towards their team. And then when they see you coming through those gates, or you getting helicoptered in, you getting off that chopper, or you getting out of that vehicle, you and your dog and all your gear, they're just like, oh, man, they're like, man, one of our, greatest assets is here, the military working dog team's here. We finally requested them for like a month or something. Now we finally got them. He probably lost like 3 or 4 soldiers, waiting on us to get here. But, I mean, we can only, get the request coming in. We can only do so much of, there's only so little of us and so many of them, or so many missions. So, and working and building that friendship and those war buddies is what she was talking about, because you go out there with them, you get in a firefight with them, you get ambushed with them. And being from an individual that didn't know nobody, and then going there, then once I leave there, I know that I can ask those guys for anything in the world for only knowing them for about 3 or 4 days, or doing missions with them, and they would get the shirt off my back for me until this day. So that friendship and war buddies things, you get close to someone very, very quickly when you're outside that wire. You get to know them, and they get to know you, and you trust them, and they trust you, man. I mean, you know them. You won't forget them. You might forget their names, man, but you won't ever forget that picture of seeing their face when they're yelling and trying to call out distance, direction, of where the fire's coming from, or, you know, I mean, just some stuff you just got a mental picture of, and I'll always have that.
What was combat like in Iraq?
Combat in Iraq. Man, if I put it in my words, they're two different places. But in Iraq, I didn't really see that much stuff. You know, I mean, it wasn't. Never really. How could you tell who's the enemy? I mean, you got people in man dresses that dress, you know, the same. I mean, who know you was fighting? I mean, you don't know. I mean, you get blown up, and you look around, you just see people just out in fields and stuff. Like, man, was it you? Was it you? You know what I mean? Combat. I mean, it's hard to identify someone, you know, to be a combative if, you know, don't have a gun in your face, you know, like really pointing at you. Combat that I know, man, just going there and clearing those routes and get blown up. I mean, that's about all the combat I've seen. Then we got pop shots at us like 2 times, and that was it. You know, it was just pretty much going out there and get blown up or finding IEDs. Wasn't no, you know, tactical movements or anything from my job. I mean, my job didn't consist of. I'm pretty sure that was going on over there. I'm pretty sure, you know, infantry guys or, you know, special operations, they was, you know, kicking down doors and doing all that, you know, stuff and have good intel on where these insurgent cells, you know, stay at. But my job, you know, combat-wise, it was just going out there and finding IEDs and getting hit. And that's about it.
You mentioned ambushes a couple times. Could you maybe elaborate on a couple instances where those happened to your unit?
In Iraq, it only happened like twice, man. Doing route clearance, and it usually was at nighttime. Doing route clearance, like I said, man, you can see us coming, man. We got like Las Vegas on a strip, man. We got these big bright lights. You know, we're looking. You know, we're doing night missions, we're looking for roadside bombs. I mean, you can see us, you know, across the desert. You know, coming, big lights. And, you know, they would just shoot at us, just cowards. I mean, just take pop shot at us. They probably drop a magazine or something and go run before we identify them. Their muzzle flash or distance direction, because they don't want us to identify their distance and direction with that muzzle flash, because we would put a world of hurt downrange in that area once they were identified. So they wouldn't have stood a chance. But one thing about military, man, you got to have that control. You know, you getting shot at, you just can't start shooting. You got to, you know, identify and know the direction and identification of someone, and where you can start putting that downrange.
Can I pause you for just a second while I change this?
Sure. Do you need another water?
Yeah.
Oh, don't walk off. Okay, we're rolling.
While you were in service overseas, did you receive any awards?
Yeah. Iraq, I received a Army Commendation Medal, and in Afghanistan, I received a Bronze Star. from over there.
When you were in Afghanistan, what was it like when you were searching for the IEDs? You mentioned there's a big difference to when you were deployed in Iraq, when you were actually with the unit, and Afghanistan, you were kind of just you and Isaac out there searching for the IEDs. How did that feel?
Like you're walking through a minefield. Everywhere you go, man, like you're walking through a minefield. And try not to get blown up or get any of your people that's behind you blown up. From being in Iraq, mounted up, and going to Afghanistan, dismounted, and be on the ground, it's a big difference. You get to, coincide with the population, the villagers. You get to see more of their culture, than riding in a vehicle down the road. More dangerous, more tactics and that you got to follow, more guidelines. So it's different.
Were there any close calls you had when you were searching for the IEDs with Isaac?
Yeah, my mama said God was on my side this day. I went and supported a unit, and 3 days. In 3 days, I found 7 IEDs. In 3 days, and this was day 2. I think this was the 4th IED that I was found. I found one the day prior, and it was at this intersection where this bridge is at. And EOD came out there, and they, dug it up and went and blowed it up. And then we had to halt our mission for that day, so we continued it, the next day. And I went out there, and searched the area. And we was going to go over there. We was going to blow up these walls because we kept getting ambushed at night or during the day. So we was going to blow up these walls and take out this tree line, for us to, have clear sight, this area. So I go search this route again after finding these, them IDs. And I search it, I bound up, too far. And it's a mistake as a handler that I'll never make again. You learn from your mistakes. And we train our guys, not make mistakes like this. But, I found that ID out there. And I was on a concrete bridge, so I bound it up, up there close to the ID that we found the other day, and I continued on searching. Keep in mind that, hey, this is another day. I did search up to that ID day prior, but this is a totally another different day, and I wasn't thinking like that for some reason. I don't know why. So this back over here behind me that I just walked past, I didn't search. I just walked right past it and started my search. So I searched this route and come down, and the sappers go in there and they, put demo on the wall and blow it up. So they're going back and they're following the path that I searched. They're staying on my path that I searched, because I tell them, hey, this is what I searched, stay, from this boundary to this boundary and, walk this way. And they did, and this right here was out of bounds. This hadn't been searched, but, no one was walking over there, it just wasn't, where people was walking at, which I'm glad, because I ended up walking over there. And I wasn't searching, I was just looking around. And from what I found over there, man, once you got ground paid for, once you got, you're in a position, there's no sense in you need to be walking around. You just need to stay where you're at and, move if you have to move. But I walked over there, and I was just looking around, and I didn't have that much pressure on my right foot for some reason. I was standing looking at the wall that the sappers just blew up, and I remember I had all my pressure on my left leg, and I swooped up with my right leg and just barely, was finna step with it. And when I was going to step with it, the ground went in. And I looked down, and I pulled my foot up, and there was a pressure plate that I just stepped on. And when I pulled my foot up, it popped. It was one of these like metal plates, and it popped up and made the ground move. So I was like, shouted, I was like, damn, my dog, when I shout or something, he like thinks that he's doing something wrong, or, so he comes over to me, and everybody's like, what is this? I say, everybody, just stop what you're doing, don't move, called everybody to a halt. My dog comes over, I'm trying to, relay back to the commander, hey, sir, I got an IED right here, like, where's it at? And I'm like, man, I think my foot's on it. So I didn't want to move. It's hard to make a decision, like, what do? Dog comes over there, he sniffs, and he sits right in front of me. It's like, where's my ball? Because when I train him and he finds, his explosive, he gets his tennis ball, and he's the happiest dog in the world. I'm getting chills bumps even talking about this. So, he comes over there, and I'm sitting there trying to talk to the commander, and my dog comes over there, he sniffs my foot, and he sits. And he's happy, tail wagging. He's just, where's my ball? Hey, Dad, right here. I found something. No, you didn't, buddy. I think I'm going to take this one for the team. I can laugh and joke about it by now, but anyway. I just can remember his face and how his tail was wagging. Anyway, so you make that decision, what to do. So I got everybody down to a halt. I took my foot off of it, and we're taught, in a minefield, if you come to a way, you just do a turnaround and take your footsteps that you took in there, take them back out. So I didn't want my dog to jump around or anything. I didn't want him to, be walking out when I go back. So I tell him to stay on the IED. I mean, he's right there on it. He's in front of it. So I tell him to stay, and, for him not to move. And that's where obedience comes into play at. So I turn around, and I walk away. It didn't go off. So I get back over there to the headquarters element. And my dog, he's still over there on the IED. And this is one of the hardest things that you have to do with your dog as a dog team, is to call your dog off an IED. It's something that you don't look forward to. You're happy. The 28 IEDs that me and him found, I mean, you're happy that he found it, and you're happy that you got everybody out of the area, But one of the hardest things to do is to call your dog off that IED, because he's sitting there, he's got his focus on, where it's at, and he's just waiting for his tennis ball. I mean, that's what he's waiting on. He's waiting, like, where's my ball? It's going to come from right here, because we always, that's his reward. And then we do emergency recall, and we only use emergency recalls unless they're on a device, like an actual device, downrange. So calling your dog off that IED, and it's a pressure plate there, and if it takes 15 pounds to set that pressure plate off, that's all it takes for 1 pound, for one paw of a 45-pound dog. And when he's coming off that IED, he's coming. I mean, he's full blast. I mean, he's coming because he wants his ball. So I get everybody down, and the way my dog was in front of me, and the IED was right here, and then I was right here, and I reversed and went out. My dog was right in front of the IED. So I knew when I did my emergency recall, my dog was going to come straight over the IED. Did I put enough pressure with my foot to set off that IED, or I didn't put enough pressure, it didn't go off, or what? I didn't know that. But the only thing I knew is I got to call my dog off here, and the only way to do it is emergency recall, and he's right in front of it. So that's one of the hardest things you got to do when your dog finds an IED. So I get everybody down because we're close. I mean, we're in a close vicinity. I mean, we're about 15 meters apart. I mean, I'm under some kind of cover of a wall. So I call him. And usually he jets straight to me. Some reason that day, he went around it. First time I've seen him do that. Usually when I call him, he's beelining straight to me. But that day, he jumps to the left and then pivots and jumps and comes straight to me. I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, maybe because he knew there was an object there, or an obstacle, or something. I don't know. It's just that day he didn't do it. So I bring my dog back to me. And come to find out, the IED was real. EOD come out there. And one thing about these IEDs, they're some of them is charged on an electric blasting cap, and they're 9-volt battery. And if you leave these IEDs in the ground for a long time, even like any kind of battery, it's going to go dead. And these IEDs, these electric blasting caps, are like a alternator. They're like a starter on a car, and you got to have enough. And the battery's like, you got to have enough amps to kick that starter over. I mean, you can have a little bit. You don't got enough amps to kick that starter over. You run. That's all you get. Well, when EOD come out there, they tested the battery. The battery voltage was low. It was low enough. It was too low enough to set off that electric blasting cap. So that's the only thing that saved my right leg here, is that IED has been in the ground for a little bit, and that the voltage was lower. They just put a dead battery, almost dead battery in the ground. So that's what saved my leg, was a dead battery. Mama said it was God on my side. I was like, yeah, it could have been a dead battery. Ended up being a dead battery, and probably a little bit of both. But that was my experience with actual close enough experience that I got. I can tell you about.
Wow, that's really all I can say. It's a wild story. I mean,
yes.
You got very lucky, and your training paid off for both you and Isaac, it looks like. Sure.
Oh yeah, you learn, you live and learn. Good thing I lived and I learned.
Earlier you mentioned the total number of IEDs you and Isaac found. Have there been any other things that you and Isaac have uncovered?
7 weapon caches and IED making facility. Like I said, calling your dog off, finding the first couple IEDs, calling your dog off, we're really pulling these things out of the ground, you get complacent, man, I can just go out here and just find an IED. I mean, there for a while, I can just, every mission I went on, just find an IED. I mean, it was just happy. You get on up there, and you're like, man, you get complacent. I don't know, 12, 13, 14 IEDs. All right, good. You go there about 18, 19, 20 IEDs, you're like, what are the odds? You're like, oh, this is going too fast. I mean, this is just, what are the odds of, me not finding that one IED? Look at the ones that I just found that I could have stepped on, or the people behind me that I was searching for could have stepped on. And calling your dog off these IEDs, what are the odds of him getting blown up? So I got complacent there for a while. I mean, I was just unstoppable. I just thought I was just, cocky, arrogant, I come to you, I'm gonna deliver, me and my dog's gonna go out there and we're gonna do this mission for you. We're gonna clear the way. Dog can't miss. Dog can't miss. Dog can't miss. I mean, that's the kind of attitude that you gotta have, but I got complacent there for a little bit. But you get up there to about 20-something, and, you get up there to about 20-something, you start getting to, hey, I got about 2-3 months left till I go home. I already been here, 7 months. Now you're up to 20-something IEDs that you found, and you only got 3 months to go home. Man, it would suck getting hit right now. I've been lucky all this time, or good training or whatever, and, I got 2 more months left, and the complacency's not there no more. Most troops, they get complacent, mid, of their, deployment, So that's where it gets scary. You're scared, kind of fear when you first get in there, you ain't felt nothing. And you're like, man, hope I didn't miss anything. You know what I mean? And then coming, into the middle of it, you're like, I just know this. I'm looking at the ground. I go into a mission. I just had that switch. I look at the ground, look at the patterns. The patterns of life. I look, man. You know what? This route hadn't been traveled on. I can just look at the ground. I can look at the villagers and how they. I can just observe them and see how they walk around this one area. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, sir, I'm going to go over here and search this over here. Why? Because I just seen that village. There's a walkway right through there, and that villager, he just walked around it. Okay, yeah, go ahead. So I was like that confident. I was like, come on, take my security team, my mine detector guy. I'll go there, search around, Isaac indicate, boom, right there. That's where all my, near about half of my IEDs I found is choke points and point of interest. Pointing out those points of interest. You just realize that. I was just like a switch. I just go in there and I can look at it and survey the land, do a pre-search assessment, just look like, man, I could put an IED right there. I'm gonna go there and search that, and I go there and search it. Bam, there was the IED. Got it. Come in, and so you come into, first getting there, and you're like, man, I ain't finding nothing. Hope I ain't missing nothing. Then complacency. Oh man, I can just, yeah, there's one over there. I just know it. I can just go there and find that real quick, and then 2 months left, you're like, shit, my bad. I just want to make it home. I done found all these. I need to get home now. So what do I? So distractions in your head. Mid-tour leave, I was on a roll. I was on a switch. Didn't have nothing to think about. You don't think about, and they say, every soldier that goes to war is always, injured coming back, because they're always, you can come back, you don't have to get blown up, come back and not have nothing wrong with you, And what happens on your home side, on your homeland, will affect your job. If your homeland's not right, your family, your finance, if something's distracting you from here, from over there, it will play a role, because, man, I was wanting to come back home, and that was distracting my vision that I had, 3 or 4 months prior. I just had this vision, 6, 7 months into my deployment, and then coming up the last 2 months, it was just like, it started just fuzzing out, like, man, why I feel this way, A couple months ago, I just come out here and just be ready to go. So it's just crazy how that plays in a factor, how you change on your deployment. So
I have a few questions I want to ask before we wrap up. How long were each of your deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan? When did you get there, and when did you leave for both?
In Iraq, it was a 15 months tour. Got there in '08. I left in '09. I came back a little bit early. I came back a couple months early to go to canine school to get back deployed to Afghanistan. And Afghanistan was 12 months. It was a year-long deployment.
About what month?
Oh, in Afghanistan, I deployed in 2010 of March to 2011 March. Iraq was May of '08 to March of '09. So past 4 years, '08, '09, 10, 11, I spent time in. Last 4 years I spent time in war, whether it was 3 or 4 months in that year.
What was, were some of the special equipment that you have with handling Isaac, like anything that's added to your usual equipment, as well as anything, does Isaac have a vest on, for example, things like that?
I use a harness with him. That's like a light switch for him. I take him out of harness. He tries to be a dog, but he don't know how to be a dog. Dude's always searching or obedience or something. He don't know how to be a dog. I mean, I was like, go be a dog. He won't be a dog. But I gave him a vest, a searching vest. That was what we use. Once I put that vest on, he knows what to do. I mean, me and him's been in so many buildings, in so many areas. I can pretty much come in here in a building and tell him to search, and he'll do his whole thing, systematic, over and over again. That's how you train, systematic. So he just come here and train. I rock a M9 9mm with M4, basic load, 210 rounds. No special equipment really, just a leash and a harness, and plenty of water for your dog. That's about all the kind of equipment I got, besides my dog. My dog's got goggles. I mean, they call them doggles. But, and then he's got little Vibrix boots. You know, I pimp him out, you know, because you get on that flight line at 110 degrees waiting for a helicopter to come pick you up. And you look down at your dog, and your dog's like, what are you doing, dog? That concrete's hot.
Yeah.
I kind of found that out the hard way. But so I keep him with a dog booties and his goggles. I do air assault missions. We'll fly in, and we get dropped off, and all this dust and clouds everywhere, and I got my goggles on. Going to keep my dog's goggles on, you know. He's got his little goggles. I got pictures of him, you know, with his little goggles on, his little booties. So we get dropped off, and once the dust clears, I take his equipment off, I take my equipment off, and we continue searching. So that's some of the special equipment that he has. And a little bit of what I got is just extra water in my backpack.
It's really interesting. I didn't know about all the precautions for the canine as far as like on their paws as well as the the doggles.
Yeah, they it's a lot of stuff about canine that's beneficial to help the mission.
One last thing before we wrap up. You seem like you're an Army career guy, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
There's, in our research, we did our pre-research, we did for this class, came across this idea called a soldier adventure. A soldier who has found his spot, his place is almost, his home is in the military and serving there, being a part of his unit, doing his job. Do you consider yourself a soldier adventurer?
Yeah, that found my job, my calling. Yeah, I think I mentioned that earlier. I mean, I like what I do. You know, the other day was someone said, I don't know what it was. You know, like you don't have to be in the military. You know, it's voluntary service. You know, and it's like, no, raised my hand. I was like, nah, I have to be in the military now. I mean, I just couldn't know what else what I would do. I mean, I have nothing. I don't think I only know where I might have to re-strategize. I'm finna go to school, but start college and get some classes up under me. But man, I just like what I do right now. I mean, I just enjoying every bit of it, and I'm ready to go back over there right now and to help those guys out. Me and my dog. I mean, he's at his prime right now, so he's 4 years old. He's finna turn 5. Hey, you know when his birthday is? Isaac's birthday is February the 22nd, 2007. I joined the military 2007, February the 20th. Ain't that something?
That is.
So every time I have another year tacked onto my military career, that's how old he is. It's weird. It's like a coincidence, you know?
Meant to be, maybe.
Hope it is. Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm that guy, that soldier.
Well, I mean, before we close, is there anything else about your life or military career that we haven't talked about that you'd like to share?
No, man, I think I covered pretty much everything. I mean, we could be here all day talking about, missions and war stories, but overall picture of military in general, we covered it. So I think it's about a good idea. Everybody's got a good idea of what, military life and their family life and what they go through. But like I said, man, we can be here all day talking about war stories, but we can do that, another time. But I think we covered everything. I have nothing else to add except for, love the military, love what I do. That's my job. I love being a canine handler, so I want to try to continue doing that. And now, canines come into its own MOS too. They're trying to make it to its own MOS because we have MPs and engineers, and now canine's trying to come into its own MOS. So it'd just be canine mission occupational specialty. So I'm looking forward to joining that MOS to be a canine handler. Maybe I can get to work my dog longer, retire him out, and take him home with me.
That certainly would be nice. Sounds like you guys have been through a ton together from the sounds of it.
Oh, yeah.
Accomplished a lot.
Oh, yep. Love that dog.
Well, on behalf of myself, my family, and Ball State University, I want to say thank you for participating in this project, and thank you for your service to your country.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Big bud.
That's a wrap.